For us, for example, just really understanding like the workflow experience and the user experience and the practice owner experience. What needs to happen is when you have this website or a landing page, if you will, and you're leveraging that for marketing purposes, driving traffic to it, you need to make sure that you have the ability to capture data, right? It's one thing to have a beautiful website with piece of art, but if you have great call to action, great contact forms, chatbots that capture data and bring that into a CRM system that can then push into EMR systems, that's like I would say that's the standard. That's our standard.
Welcome to the American Med Spa Association podcast, Medical Spa Insider. This week, AmSpa founder Alex Tiersch is speaking with Cameron Hemphill, CEO of Growth 99.
All right, welcome everybody. This is Alex Tiersch, and welcome to Medical Spa Insider, the podcast put on by AmSpa, American Med Spa Association. And today we have a returning guest to the AmSpa hotline. Oh, also, not only are we on the podcast, we are now visual as well, which we were just chatting about, which is both great and terrifying at the same time, because now we're on video and everyone gets to see us. But Cameron Hemphill from Growth 99, the CEO of Growth 99. Cameron, you were on the podcast about, I guess I want to say last June ish. And we, for those of you who don't know about Growth 99, you'll get a chance to check them out. We'll make sure that you have all their information, but they do, all things digital, from CRM to digital marketing, landing pages, all those kinds of things. They've been in the industry for a while and are growing, expanding, and they got a lot of cool, exciting things going on. Please make sure to check out the first podcast that we did with Cameron. We spoke a lot about just marketing in the different phases, from startup to a mature business to acquisition or whatever it might be. And so we wanted to bring Cameron back and just get your take on what's been going on in the industry and talk a little bit about websites, which we were chatting before we got on, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit more, but websites are obviously ubiquitous now in the world of aesthetics and business. But you mentioned something that before we were recording, that it's almost like people have forgotten a little bit about their websites, and that's, it's not that they've forgotten, but it's almost become secondary. And I think as you were talking, this industry goes in stages. Obviously, it's like there's this evolution of this industry, as there is with all industries, and now we're really in a different place where you've got, not only do you have in-person consultations, in-person treatments, there's a lot of digital work that's being done, a lot of telemedicine that's being done. And there's a lot of new products with AI and with lead tracking and all these things that are happening. And it's almost, it'd be a good idea for folks on some level to take a step back and look again at their website and make sure that they've got everything in place. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But first, Cameron, how are you? What is going on? What's new?
Yeah, awesome, Alex. Thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it. I love doing these things, and looking forward to seeing you guys coming up here in April at the big conference in Las Vegas. So we love going to that. So thank you guys for putting that on. We've been working really, really hard over here. Our team is over 250 people now. We power, in the thousands of practices currently when it comes to website, CRM, marketing automation, and patient acquisition. And we've enhanced our product line, and we've developed a lot of cool new features and tools that really, not only does it empower the practice owner, but it empowers the consumer, and on how they search, how they land on these websites, how the practice owner is able to get the data, incubate the data, and really convert these potential patients into long-term clients, creating a tremendous amount of lifetime value. And that's really the metric that we look to track is if we can bring in one new patient, what is the lifetime value of that? And so that's a metric that we look to track a lot internally. But yeah, I mean, we're having fun. We have a long way to go. We have learned a lot, and we have a really cool product that we have recently launched, which is called Aesthetic Virtual. It is a video virtual consultation experience where people can actually go to the site, upload a selfie or a video, if you will, and get live feedback of areas of treatment that they feel that they could get a good result from. So it's almost like they don't have to go to the practice. You hear a lot of people flying to practices or traveling a long way. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this reduces chair time and increases conversions. And so we listen to the market, we listen to the practice owners, we listen to the consumers, and then we really try to tailor our build and our roadmap to what the market's asking for.
Mm-hmm. That's super exciting. The telemedicine aspect, and I know, uploading selfies and however you do it, it's such an exciting part. And I think, the industry is still adapting and trying to figure out how best to do this. And I think what's great is that we're getting innovation from folks like you guys, to make it easier and to make things a little more seamless. It is so this is April. No, we are in February. You mentioned April because that's when the meeting is. So we're in February of 2024. We are about 7 weeks away from Medical Spa Show, which, as you mentioned, is April 11th through the 14th in fabulous Las Vegas. By the way, if any of you are listening and you want to come, I highly, highly recommend you get on, and get your ticket, because we are rising in numbers, and I'm fairly certain we're going to sell out our allotted space. So we're going to have to work on that. But so make sure you jump on to medicalspashow.com or americanmedspa.org. And so, Cameron, let's talk a little bit about, because the idea of doing, whether it's, you call it telemedicine, or you're just uploading photos. And I'd like to get a little more color on that. I mean,
Yeah.
is it a true video consult, or is it something where you're doing a consult, and then photos are being uploaded and they're commenting on the photos? Like, tell me what the process is for this new product.
Yeah, so it was a product that was actually originally designed in the dental space, for cosmetic dentistry, right?
Mm-hmm.
High ticket item type stuff. And we saw the value in the product. In fact, we acquired the product, and it was called Smile Virtual. And I said, this is perfect because the aesthetics industry needs this for invasive and non-invasive treatments, because they've been asking for it, right? And so essentially, the user can go to a landing page, and that landing page can be put on like your link tree. It can be put on, your Instagram. It can be put on your website. And it's a landing page experience where it takes the user, says, okay, upload either a video or a couple pictures of your concern. And that could be, face, it could be body, it
Mm-hmm.
could be wherever, right? Whatever they're most comfortable with. The practice owner then receives a lead, and
Mm-hmm.
they can actually have artificial intelligence reply through like a avatar experience.
Mm-hmm.
The practice owner doesn't have to be there, or it can be a live experience to where they're actually sending a personalized video. So now they're putting a face with the name before that potential patient comes into the practice, right? And so it's essentially like giving them a very qualified lead, because once they come in, they are now ready to go. They know what the pricing is, they know what the downtime is, they know what exactly they're going to be getting, or at least have somewhat of an understanding of what they're going to be receiving. And you could upload like before and afters, if you will, to show results of the
Mm-hmm.
specific concern that they've had, and then be able to treat those. And so we've had it. We haven't released like the whole marketing aspect of it yet. We haven't flipped on the switch. We've just been doing
Mm-hmm.
organic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been very, very receptive. The practice owners absolutely love it. And then the cool thing too is, if you want to take it to the next level, since it's a landing page, you can run ads to it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to run Facebook ads or Google ads to it and just have that be a landing page, we found that to be extremely impactful.
And so is the landing page, it's individual to, obviously, to the practice, or is it individual? So is it just this one page where all your patients can go and submit stuff? And like, how does it work from like a technology standpoint?
It's actually individualized to the provider.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So you could have a practice that's got multiple providers, and they
Mm-hmm.
could all have their own. So they could leverage it on their own marketing platforms that benefits the entire practice in general. But now they have a tool to where they can bring in new potential leads as well, marketing that specifically for them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
lead would come to them, but ultimately it's obviously the practices. So the leads come in, and you can kick off like automated text messages, automated emails. It goes into a CRM system, and
Mm-hmm.
you can then send mass emails and mass text messages. And furthermore, we've taken the opportunity to integrate it into our CRM system at Growth 99, and then also we
Mm-hmm.
have APIs that can push into EMR platforms as well. So it's a seamless
Mm-hmm.
experience.
That's amazing. And I mean, congrats to you guys on the product. Acquisition, that's always amazing and exciting and terrifying at the same time, right? So good for you. I mean,
Thank you.
this is a really crazy time for this industry. There's a lot of M&A going on, not just on the part of med spas being acquired, but commercially as well, as far as the picks and shovels, for lack of a better word. What and before we jump into, because I think that was a good segue into websites, which I think, again, as I mentioned at the outset, is something that it's not that it's overlooked, but I think needs to maybe be refocused on. What are you most excited about in aesthetics right now? And I say that because you brought this new product from dental, and we see that a lot from either dental or in some cases traditional medicine, where this industry, med spa, medical aesthetics, tends to be adopting things from other practices or
Yeah.
other industry segments, which is cool. And I think that shows how we're growing. But like, like looking at this industry right now where we are, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, and I want to clarify that really quick. So the company that we acquired, the product was actually built by one of the most well-recognized cosmetic dentists in the country.
Okay.
And he had a problem. He developed a solution, and it was phenomenal. And he became a Growth 99 customer naturally. And so we got to become friends through social media, which was an interesting way to meet each other, but that's the way the world is. And
Hmm.
and as we built a friendship, the acquisition was just very, very natural. And we knew that the aesthetics world needed it, right? And so that's what happened. But to lean in on your segue point, shoot, I remember coming to I think my first AM Spa major conference show in Las Vegas. That was back when you guys were at the ARIA, I think in
Yeah.
2017. Was it
That would be one of the
17?
first ones. Yeah. I
One
think
of
it
the
was
first ones.
17, 18 was our first one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been
All
going
right.
every year since then. And along that journey, my goodness, have we changed and we have learned a lot. We've failed, which is great because you learn from your failures. We've grown. We've fully immersed ourselves with the world of aesthetics and digital tech. And so, I think like as we've advanced as a company, there's a lot of talks about AI and CRM and automation and
Hmm.
marketing automation and SEO and lead gen. And I could talk your ear off about all that stuff. But I think a lot of times, my thinking lately has been, have we forgot about the website, right? Have we forgot about this? Because the website is really the second, it's your digital practice by default. It's your second location by default.
Hmm.
And I think we look at it as a checkbox. Yes, I have a website. I built it, or somebody I know built it, or a client or whatever built it. Yes, it's up.
Hmm.
I would encourage the practice owner to not like rethink that or have a look at what they currently have in place. Is it on the right platform? How is the call to action? Where are the buttons placed? How are the leads coming in? Do you have an online booking experience? Do you have chat experience? Like it's very important, especially for mobile, right? Because
Hmm.
our data shows that 80% of traffic is coming from mobile in this space. And I see a ton of sites still today that operate well on a desktop environment and they don't operate well on mobile. And so, I would encourage the practice owners really have a look at that. And as they spend so much time building out their space or finding a space and they're focused on foot traffic or location or equipment or interior design, they should look at their websites the same way. And they
Hmm.
should take it that serious because with a click of a button, you can send it out to thousands and thousands of people. And your digital practice, your website is going to get much more traffic than your brick and mortar location.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to look at it. And I think it's a really good, healthy, positive way to look at it, where it is almost like another location for you. And I'm curious, like going back, like I'm thinking, gosh, you mentioned 2017, which seems like a lifetime ago right now, but before then, and then even a little bit after then, I mean, I feel like the whole website landscape has changed a little bit, like what people really need, what's important. I mean, before we've had the conversations about you need to have it needs to look good on your mobile phone, right? Or your mobile device. The fact that some people still haven't done that is mind-boggling to me, but because that's something we've been talking about forever. But what, like, when you look at like if you're building a website from scratch, let's say a new client comes on, like think about like what's different now. What are the objectives that you're looking at now versus 5 years ago when or even 10 years ago when things were relatively the same as far as the number of treatments, but like what should be top of mind for folks now that we have AI, we have virtual consults, we have all the all the photos and everything. What's the different perspective that folks should take?
Yeah, so let's take a new practice owner, for example, right? I'm a new practice owner. I'm getting into this space. What do I do? How do I do it? My recommendation would be to talk to an industry expert. There is a ton of people out there that can build a website, but it's going to be important that you build this on the right platform from the beginning with a company or somebody that is ingrained in the industry. Big
Hmm.
believer that they know how to create the content. They know what images go with what services, what modalities. They know they've studied like where to specifically put the booking button, where to put the call to action. Because if you change the booking button from the top left to the top right, it
Hmm.
dramatically changes your conversion rate. And,
Hmm.
and this is the data that we've learned over time, right? And so the first, like your check boxes, if you will, I would say absolutely make sure that you build on the right platform, hire an industry expert. I'm a big fan of WordPress, which is an open source platform. It's great for SEO. And when you're building out the site, really build it out in such a way to where you have wonderful content that Google can read and pick up. Because if you try to like look at it as a checkbox from the beginning, you're going to have
Hmm.
to take 10 steps back to move 20 steps forward. You're creating more work down the road. And if you're looking to be in this business for a long period of time, I would suggest doing it right from the beginning and try not to cut corners and really look at it from a serious approach of getting it done correctly.
What I mean, I think that's great advice. It has and I'm jumping around a little bit, I realize, from a cost perspective and an implementation perspective on a particular platform, as you mentioned, are we at a point now when if you're opening a new med spa, let's say, or a new location or whatever it may be, that your website is going to be integrated with your CRM, is going to be integrated with your digital consults, with your medical records? I mean, is all that pretty much together now, or are people still kind of duct taping different parts together? Because that's one thing that I know has been an issue in this industry for a while. Is it's nobody has developed yet, and this is not to say they haven't been developed, but people tend to be very, very individualized in how they like to run their practice and their digital presence, and therefore there's not that one solution out there that everyone's like, wow, this is what you guys need. It's all very different, so you end up duct taping different things together. Is that still going on, or what, how's that changed?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Alex. It's so as you look at like you mentioned historically, like how were they built? Yes, a lot of it was duct taped together, right?
Right.
You could leverage one product for like your contact forms, one product for your online booking, one product for your chat bot, one product for like a self-assessment or a skin quiz or a virtual consult. What you're seeing now is all that's really becoming combined into one platform. So like for us, for example, just really understanding like the workflow experience and the user experience and the practice owner experience. What needs to happen is when you have this website or a landing page, if you will, and you're leveraging that for marketing purposes, driving traffic to it, you need to make sure that you have the ability to capture data, right? It's one thing to
Hmm.
have a beautiful website with piece of art, but if you have great call to action, great contact forms, chatbots that capture data and bring that into a CRM system that can then push into EMR systems, that's like I would say that's the standard. That's our standard.
Hmm.
That's why we have spent a tremendous amount of time and capital to build our CRM. We have our own CRM system. It's proprietary to us. I'm a big fan of owning our own destination, so we can develop on top of that. But yeah, that's when we stand something up over here, it's really we're thinking, okay, why are we on the phone talking to this practice owner? Is it really that you want a new website? Or is it that you're looking for bookings and to grow the practice? And when you have those honest conversations, they're not on the phone necessarily. The website's one of the assets they get. But
Hmm.
really, what they're looking for is to grow the practice, right? And so, how do you help them with that? You help them with automation, you help them with tech, and creating one simplified solution that you can spin up, train them on how to do it, empower them, let them be the user that can modify things, and then furthermore push that into EMR systems, which we've done. So you have a cohesive workflow.
Right. Right. You mentioned a couple things. And I'm curious, I'm just, this is probably just for my own edification because I'm just not very smart at tech stuff. But when it comes, like you mentioned, okay, if you move the call to action button or whatever it is from the left to the right, if you don't have a call to action at all, or if whatever that is, if it's not intuitive, and then following on with that, if it's not all kind of built together as one system. Um, does simply just moving that button on your screen, does that really have an impact for capturing leads and patients? And if so, like what's the what's the psychology behind that? I mean, to
Yeah.
me, and on some level I get it, because if I go to a website and I can't find something, I'm just like, and I just forget it, right? So it's got to be there. But I don't know. How does that all work? How do you go into figuring that out?
Yeah, I mean it's trial and error. It's looking at data so you can actually put specific technology on websites. There's a piece of tech out there called Hotjar, and you can put it on these websites, and it'll actually give you a heat map on where people
Hmm.
click and where they are. And then another thing that we've done is we've done focus groups, like actual users that go or high high impactful potential patients, like people that get treatments and work done.
Yep.
Right. And we've done focus groups on that. And you got to think like the psychology behind it is people read left to right, top to bottom. Okay.
Hmm.
And so their eyes naturally go that way. Okay. And so as their eyes naturally go that way, and you can see that if you go look at some of the top like software companies in the world, let's take like
Yeah.
Salesforce.com, let's take like HubSpot, let's take Calendly, let's take some of these big ones, all of their like book a demo or call to action button is in the top right. And so, your thesis behind that is like, okay, well, they've spent the money to conduct the analysis on it. Our data backs it up. And it may sound like elementary, like
Hmm.
just moving the button, like that's, but that's how granular you need to get. This is a very competitive space, right? And that's how granular you have to get. And then furthermore, when they click on that button, what's the experience?
Hmm. Hmm.
Are you giving them the providers, the dates, the times, the modalities they can pick, or are you making them register? Right? Those
Right.
are two very different experiences, and so just over the years, like hours and hours of A/B testing, hours and hours of just data analysis, focus groups, that it leads to show that you need to have it in the right spot if you want to maximize your conversions.
And kind of going along with that, the again, because we're in a different era right now, I kind of feel like in aesthetics than we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so when you're looking at folks' websites that have websites already in place, is there one or two things that you kind of always see as being the mistakes that people make? Like, you know what, like they tend to this tends to be a big issue in this particular industry, or this tends to be a big issue with this type of provider. I mean, what are some trends that you can talk about where people are doing things kind of that you're noticing that they're not doing in the most efficient way possible?
Yeah, yeah, great question. A lot of things that we see is like we'll look at page speed, for example,
Yeah.
right? So you could have like the best keywords and the best SEO out there, and if you haven't done some page speed tests and really optimized the website,
Hmm.
especially on mobile, like Google's gonna flag that and derank you, right? And so I see that all the time
And
because
you're just talking about like the speed with which the page pops up after you click on it, right?
correct. Yeah. Google has a test you can go through. There's a few different links that you can test. Like I think pagespeed.com is one of them. But that would be a good thing to look at as well, especially on the mobile experience. Google has so many changes, and they just came out with this major GA4 update, which is the Google Analytics 4, which is just a big change that they've done, and they're always looking for ways to empower, like serving up. It's like a dictionary. If someone conducts a search, we want to give them the answer right now, immediately, so they have a great experience. And that's just how the search world has taken place, right? And so
Hmm.
the page speed is going to be important. Also, a lot of things I see is when you start scrolling on a website, whether you're on the phone or you're on your desktop, and some of the call to action naturally disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have, we call it a sticky header, or, and actually our product bolts onto the right side, bottom, left, or top. You can configure it.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those call to actions are always there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
right. And so that's something that I see all the time too, is you're almost, a good analogy for you is you spend all this money and effort bringing people to your store, if you will. Let's just look at it from like you're a store, you're a brick and mortar store in the mall. You spend all this effort, you're spending this expensive lease, this marketing, you're bringing them in. And then right when they get to your store, you close the doors, right? You're like, no,
Mm-hmm.
you can't. So it's almost like you're putting up these blockers and not letting them check out when you've spent all this time and effort to get them there. So that's another thing that I see happen all the time. And then also when it comes to like URL structure, when you're building
Mm-hmm.
your service pages, your treatment pages, a lot of times I'll see those on one page. They all need to be individual pages. They all need to
Mm-hmm.
be individual landing pages with inside the website. So I see that all the time as well.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember, we used when we were first getting started on probably around 17, 18, like the things we were talking about with a website, like we were saying, okay, you've got to have a call to action. You got to have a way where people can fill out a form, they can take that next step. And that's still true, obviously, but there's so much more that has gone into it. And you've got content, you've got video content, you've got all this stuff. It almost makes my head spin even just thinking about like how can one person put all this together, which is why I suppose we've got folks like you, because you can do a lot of this stuff together. Is there and let's take, because there's two areas I want to ask about. Let's take video as the first one. I'm always, video tends to be super important. The people watch videos, they don't always read, but at the same time, when it comes to content and reading, you need to have, from what I'm hearing, longer articles that give people the answers right away. What's the more important thing for folks to focus on? Is it videos, or is it long content on their website to provide information and answers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of both.
Yeah.
So video does a wonderful job of telling a story. If you think about it, we scroll on our devices, whether we want to admit that we do it or not. TikTok is pretty much video based, right? And that's why it's really taken off. It
Hmm.
tells a story, it's entertaining, it can showcase the experience. So I'm a big fan of having video on the hero space, on like the main area of the site,
Yeah.
especially of the location, because it connects the potential user to what they're going to feel like when they enter, right? And so it creates that a connection of how they're going to feel when they get there, right? So I'm a big fan of that. But I'm also a big fan of having content. So let's talk about service pages, treatment pages. Okay. Service pages and treatment pages, obviously critical. Like you have to have them. You have to have an image of what the treatment is. You have to have a narrative of what it is and where you provide it, right? So
Hmm.
area, the location, because this is local SEO as well that you need to focus on. And then below that page, it's really important that you have like a description of what it is, good long content, downtime, results. I love before and afters on service and treatment pages. I
Hmm.
also love having a video that explains the service and actually conducting the service on a patient. Because now,
Right.
as a consumer, like I know what I'm getting into just on one page tells me everything. And then I can click and book the appointment right there. It's inside the page, right? And so FAQs are also really important to have on service and treatment pages as well. So I think like when we look at that stuff, it's a standard. Like that's the standard we like to see, because it helps the user understand where they're getting into and helps the practice owner convert more patients.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's really not one or the other. That was just maybe the way I was asking it, but it really is both, because the video, and videos need to be short. I think that's kind of the trend now. Like with TikTok, people have no attention span, and you want to get the answer that you want to get, and you want to get it right away. Um, so that's such an interesting take. And another area I want to ask about is, I noticed on your overall platform, like many, you have, I don't know if it's the AI generated, or it's just the online chat bots, or the where you can chat with somebody on at the practice. And I
Mhm.
see those all the time. It's almost pretty much every website I go to has one, and they pop up, and they're alternately annoying to me and very helpful when I have a question. Um, but at the same time, like I've always wondered, we don't have one yet at AmSpa, and part of that's just because I've been a little bit kind of nervous about it. But I'm curious, what does the data show for that? I mean, is that something that nowadays people are expecting, and is it different for med spas than it is for other industries?
No, that's a great question. The chatbots have been around for years, right?
Yeah, no, they have
They
been.
they started getting really good, like during the whole COVID area is when the chat experience started. Like Delta Airlines, for example, have you used their chat experience? It's phenomenal.
No, I have not.
Man, it's like because I have the same feeling as you. I'm like, you know what, chatbot? Oh, I don't want to deal with it. I want to deal with a human being, right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to choose a robot. Man, that was that was an eye opener when I used theirs because I don't want to call Delta. I either want to book online and then I did their chat and I was blown away. I got all the answers I needed very, very quickly. And I think a lot of the people are understanding that wow, I can actually these AI chats are actually very efficient.
Hmm.
They can eliminate a potential phone call and answer a question and increase efficiency, and so and especially in aesthetics, because there's a lot of questions to be asked unless you know exactly, like, you're an experienced patient, you know what you want, you know what you
Right.
get, you know how many you go. There's a lot of questions that are asked, and this is a vulnerable industry for the user, right? So uh,
Hmm.
and they maybe they don't want to have the phone call. Like I'm a big fan of having chatbots, especially for the aesthetic space. And you want to have the ones that are, I mean, ours is AI driven to where it reads the
Yep.
site, replies back with answers, and then it has like a call to action. If you want to book an appointment, book here, right? And it just brings in whatever booking link you're using. And so, no, they have a purpose. They're great for, like, it's you got to have for every personality trait. People are still going to want to call the practice. They're going to want to chat. They're going to want to book online. And so it's very helpful to have that on your site to really help with that personality that's going to help go in and communicate with you. And ultimately you'll get a lead from it or at least a booking.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we'll probably end up doing one on MSpot just because I like because I can think of it with our product. Like there are certain things you can provide information to relatively easy. My fear is always you'll go down a rabbit hole or you'll ask a question and it's slow and it's not as informative. But you're right. I've seen that experience get better. And do you foresee in the future? I mean, is this kind of where we're going to be going? I mean, are we going to be, just total digital AI receptionists where it's just everything is just provided and it's not until you get into the practice and you see somebody. I mean, is that it? Because I feel like that has to get better before we get to that point, the utility of the AI chats, and that has to be a better experience than calling. And then sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, personally, I think that the term AI is thrown around
Yeah.
way too much. I think it's has a long way to go. And I think human connection is very much needed right now, right? And so I'm a tech guy. We have a product and it has a use. And yes, every AI, there's so many AI tools out there, and they all need work. Even ChatGPT needs a tremendous amount of work. I was playing around with it the other day and getting wrong answers.
Mm.
Um, but it's yes, I think we're definitely going that way. But I still think, like, human connection is extremely important, and there's nothing more powerful than communicating through the voice that God gave us, and having that connection, right? But yeah, there's useful features for it, and if you can capture that data and put it into a CRM system and create automation, like, if you're a great use case would be you're doing a treatment, and
Hmm.
or you're not at the practice.
Hmm.
Somebody can go to the website and they could get some answers and fact find, before, while you're not there, right? And so in some ways there's a lot of positives to it too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, so no, for sure there is. So when it comes to the website, we talked a little bit about um, the process for which you're building one. I mean, if there's folks that are out there that already have a website, which is most people, right? Most people who are in business, they've already got a site up. Um, what are some things they should look at to, I mean, is there a way to refresh it without having to rebuild it? Because I know that's one thing people get very nervous about is when you start talking about websites, redesigns, they go into a panic because that could mean downtime. It could mean, all this work. What goes into that? And I do want to, then I want to get a little bit into cost because I know cost is always a factor for folks who want to build a website. Some folks, will tell you you need a website that's designed incredibly and it costs $85,000, to design it and all that. So I want to get into that as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to the first question, so if somebody already has a site, right? You're taking it's like an established practice. They have a site. Chances are they've redone it a couple times already.
Right.
I have a customer that's been with us for a long time, and they've changed or upgraded locations 4 times. So they
Mhm.
naturally update their site. They hire people, they fire people, they have bought new equipment, they have dissolved services they don't do anymore. They have rolled out the wellness side, which is exploding right now. And so for somebody that's thinking about, hey, it's time to give our site a facelift, make sure to look at your SEO, right?
Mhm.
Because when you do a new site, that if you got to make sure to do it correctly, or Google can look at it as a new site, and your SEO can drop for a period of time. And so you want to be mindful of that. So if I'm a practice owner and I'm saying, hey, it's time for me to really explore this opportunity, make sure you're working with a company that knows how to spin up beta sites or staging sites, knows how to change DNS records, know how to do 301 redirects. And this is kind of like the technicality, like, quirky language, but that's what we do, is making sure that you don't want downtime. You never want your site to
Right.
go down. And it can be, it's not a fun experience. There is a lot of work that does go into it. There's costs, it takes a few weeks, the content, the imagery, whatever it is, especially if you're going to be doing a new like photo shoot or video shoot, right? That also carries weight too. So just do your diligence and,
Mhm.
ask questions and make sure you're working with the right, you make sure you have the time, make sure you're going into it open-minded, and make sure it doesn't disrupt your workforce.
No, that's a great answer. And in terms of cost, like what, like, and I know this is a totally variable question. There's a ton that goes into it. Is Are websites? Can you just? I don't even know if you can do this. Can you just pay for a website anymore, or is it you got to have a website? You got to have all the integration and everything. It seems to me it's a totally different world from when I remember when I first started out building websites for the companies I started. How much should people be thinking about spending if they want to start a new website from scratch if they're a new business, or if they need to refresh theirs currently to make it a little more up to speed with current times?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, you could go build a website on an open source platform for free. You
Right.
can do it yourself. And you could accomplish a website, xyzmedspa.com, for example, and you could have something up there. Now, is Google going to find it? I don't know. Do you have it
Mhm.
correctly? Is it on the right platform? I don't know. But again, kind of coming back to the purpose was, let's not look at this as a checkbox. Look at it as something that's very, very, very important that can really make your practice thrive, right? And so, I would just really urge the audience to make sure they take it quite seriously, and
For sure.
look to hire an expert, which would be my suggestion. That would be my suggestion. I mean, but yeah, you could go build it for free. One of your questions was, you used to be able to just build it and it was up, and you maybe just have some small hosting fee, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a tech platform.
Yeah.
I look at it as, your website's not going to be the same today as it is in 4 months, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's going to evolve as your practice evolves. And so I'm a big fan of having like a website partner and having their
Mhm.
tech embedded into it, somebody that's in the industry. So you now have someone at your fingertips that can help you update it. And you don't necessarily have to do redesigns all the time. Just keep it current, right?
Mhm.
And understand
Mhm.
how to make that run with the SEO experience, and tie it into the CRM and kick it to the EMR system. And so it's definitely looked at more as a SaaS component, a software as a service,
Yep.
versus, so it's like some managed services and then also SaaS for sure. But I mean, you should be able to stand a website up in, from a very professional agency, a couple $1,000, a couple $100 a month to run, and depending on, how much SEO or lead gen you want, they shouldn't be looked at as a massive expense, but it's something absolutely critical to nail, because it can increase revenues and increase that customer lifetime value dramatically.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I remember having this conversation, it's been a couple of years ago. There was kind of an argument, and it's not an argument, but do you spend time and money on kind of the aesthetic, making sure that the website looks really cool? Like sometimes if you go to some of these plastic surgery websites, like it's got all sorts of cool things. There's images that are, showing everything. There's cool videos. It's all really looks really high tech, versus functionality, right? Like do you have a website that's got the call to actions, it's all connected to your CRM? You've got everything is there, and it's at your fingertips. Is one more important than the other? And I know they're both important, but I'll
Mhm.
have people say, "Well, I went to a design company," and I think your point about getting somebody in the industry who's an expert is a good one, because you'll go to a website design company that's maybe never done aesthetics. They can build you an incredibly good looking website for tens of thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
but it might not have all that functionality. I mean, where do you fall on that? Is it more important to have it really good looking, or is the nuts and bolts, all the things that you're talking about, the connectivity between your different platforms, is that more important?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alex. This is the industry that needs both.
Yeah,
It truly
yeah,
does, because you're enhancing somebody's lifestyle. That's what they're doing, is they're building confidence
yeah,
in a patient. And so it's the aesthetic is so important. And so having a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing website, extremely important. But if that's all you have, and you don't have the ability to capture data and plug it into tech tools and create automation, it's just a piece of art.
right.
Now let's take the reverse way. If you have all of the connecting dots, and you come at it from a tech standpoint, and you don't really care about the visuals, you're now going to have someone land on your site and maybe not think it looks the appeal of what like tying the emotion factor,
Hmm.
and they bail, right? And so really it's quite challenging. You have to it's a true artistic approach from a tech standpoint and a visual standpoint to combine those experiences and hit the emotion factor while you data collect. And that is what creates a very unique experience for the practice owner. So they're critical to have both.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, both.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's true. I mean, I think you're right. It's there are studies that's show that the way you feel about a place aesthetic, if you think it's dirty, if you think it's run down, that will impact your desire to come back. And if you feel a place is like dirty, or it's not to the level that you want, you're just not going to go back no matter what it is. Same thing for a website. I mean, if you could have all the bells and whistles and connectivity, but if it looks kind of shitty, you're
Yeah.
going to be like, like, is that the same experience I'm going to get when I walk in the door?
Right. That's exactly right. So, yep. Tying the emotion factor to it.
Yep. So we're gonna bump up against time here. One thing you mentioned I wanted to get your thoughts on, because you're kind of on the front lines when it comes to what the different aesthetic practices are offering and what they're seeing, right? So they hear from their patients, they then offer new services. You're helping them market and get that stuff up. You mentioned wellness, and it's something that we've been talking about for a while, but I feel like this year, and a lot of this was driven, in some ways by Ozempic and all the weight loss drugs, but it's been coming for a while. There's IV treatments, there's all kinds of stuff. It really seems to be this blending of the quote unquote wellness and aesthetics into one package, which really, when you think about it, it's all the same thing. It's just different ways of looking at it. I'm curious, are you seeing that? Like, is that an area where you're just seeing, is I'm hearing a bunch about the growth in that area and people are doing it. What are your thoughts on that? And is this a trend, or is this here to stay?
Here's my thought on it. Here's what I'm seeing, and then here's my thought on the future of it. You see like weight loss come and go. Like, like you see Jenny Craig, right? For example. I mean,
Hmm.
we all remember it, but I don't think it's around anymore. Um, so the treatments could change. The treatments could change, and I think that there's going to be some issues as if there's a lawsuit or something, right? Like
Right.
like who knows what's coming. And again, I'm not on the legal side of that, but somebody could get hurt and that could create issues. I don't know. Um, but on the wellness side, like that is here to stay. In my opinion, it's here to stay. Now, I have embraced the wellness in my life, right? And so it feels really good to feel good.
Hmm.
And I think humans are really liking that. And so, once you start to feel good and you can leverage or partner with a medical aesthetics practice and look good and feel good from the same place, like I'm a patient for life. And so I'm almost more loyal to feeling good than looking good because I can operate at a much more efficient way. My energy level's higher. And it's almost like once you're starting to feel good, you don't want to go back, right? You only
Right.
want to go forward. I want to feel better and better and better and better. So what else do you got? What else you got that you can give me? That's been my personal experience, by the way, right? And so
Hmm.
when I'm talking to other practice owners, I see a ton of them expanding from aesthetics to wellness.
Right.
And what I'm seeing in a lot of our long-term clients, the wellness side, if you look at the trend line, is going to surpass the aesthetic side, the injectables.
Hmm.
It's much more, you can forecast the recurring revenue. And the patient lifetime value is increasing.
Hmm.
And so then like if you're a practice owner that has aesthetics and wellness, like you're firing on all cylinders. I've seen a lot of people just start out with wellness and
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
all they're doing. Yeah. And they're doing very, very well. And then they'll bolt on aesthetics. And so I think a few years ago we were looking at it like you almost had, you had plastic surgeons and derms and aesthetics was combining, and then even dentistry was doing aesthetics.
Hmm. Hmm.
And now the wellness and aesthetics I think it's definitely here to stay. And I would encourage practice owners to take it very seriously because, we love it.
Yeah, no, it's that's a really good take. And I agree. I don't think it's going anywhere. And it's all, different sides of the same coin, really, when you think about it. I mean, when you're talking about how you feel, your confidence level, um that is both your appearance and it's also how you feel, right? So it's both. Is this having any impact on kind of the tech side? I mean, is this changing the way you guys are looking at things? I'm good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not sure if it is, but like this is, we're seeing this kind of this melding of these two different, not industries, but these two different ways of thinking about aesthetics, looking and feeling. How are you approaching that from a tech side?
Yeah. So from a tech side, I mean, we just adapt. We look at it as
Right.
another service or treatment. We have to just create like different landing pages, different content. A lot of people are having a lot of success running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok, Google ads. But also Google and Facebook also present their challenges.
Yes,
So
they do.
and so I mean, we're used to those challenges, and so you have to navigate those. But yeah, people are having a tremendous amount of success in the wellness side, marketing this side. And that kind of brings into to kind of what we were talking about, like partner with somebody who's in the know,
Yeah.
because uh, man, I've seen this industry change so much just since, just in the past few years.
Yeah.
And if you're out of it for a year or 6 months, it's almost like you've fallen behind. And you have to know what these terms are, these keywords. Like you have to know what Allergan's doing. You have to know what Galderma is doing. You have to know what MERS is doing. You have to know what the laser companies are doing. You have to know what everything is happening in wellness, from hormone replacement therapy to tirzepatide to semaglutide to all of the other peptides too. Like there is a mountain
You're
of
right.
peptides. And if you don't understand what those are, it really presents a challenge on how to market that and leverage it into, the tech ecosystem for the practice owner.
For sure. This industry is moving at warp speed right now. And it's not just, the growth. It's because we're seeing growth, but we're also seeing acquisitions. We're seeing, people are failing also. Like there's all kinds of things that are going on, but the growth and the technology is huge. Um, we are bumping up against time now. You are going to be at MedSpa show and you're speaking. I think you've got like a some sort of a talk. It's do you want to talk about that? What you're going to be talking on, and when folks can find you if you know?
Absolutely. So we have a wonderful booth. I think this will be what, year 6 or 7 for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
in a row. And so we have our Growth 99 booth, of course.
Yep.
We will have our aesthetic virtual booth there as well. So we
Okay.
have,
Awesome.
and then we will, I'll be doing a talk on, how to grow your practice and really how to, like, I'm an educator. I love to educate and help people. And, I really enjoy just giving advice and helping practice owners and people grow their business in general. And so, we'll be on stage talking
Yeah.
and, looking forward to it.
Awesome. So where can folks find you in the interim? And I agree with you. You've been very generous with your time. You've always been very open, and provided great insight, which I think is amazing. So if you're coming to MedSpa Show, make sure you go check out Growth 99, Cameron Hemphill's talk. And in the meantime, where can folks find you if they want more information?
Oddly enough, our website. Just go
Yep.
to
So apropos,
growth99.com. There's a booking button in the
99.
top right-hand corner. So no, that's the best place. It has all the information for you guys there. And happy to meet and talk with anybody that's curious or has a question.
Awesome. I appreciate it. We'll definitely have you back and get caught up on the the newest things happening in the industry, but I appreciate your time.
Alex, appreciate it. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Medical Spa Insider podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel for future videos and podcasts. For more information about the American Med Spa Association, please check our description below.